everyone. I'm Penny Creer from Back to Eden, and today I am going to make a very luxurious soap. And I thought I'd just show you kind of how I do it. So to start out with, I'm going to share with you some of the ingredients that I'm going to use today. We have avocado and organic sesame oil here, castor oil, organic canola oil, organic coconut oil, and this is the extra virgin coconut, organic babasu, and organic refined shea butter. The oil that I have here is olive oil, but it's been infused with a very special bud, a poplar bud. It's called Balm of Gilead, and it's a very luxurious oil. This oil has been steeping for well over a year. Now the other additives that I'm going to use today are some resins. Right here we have our Myrrh Resin, and I've ground it, and as you can see I don't grind them real fine, but I do grind them before I add them. And this is a lovely frankincense hajari, and also it's been ground. We've got about a little more, tablespoon to 2 tablespoons here. And this is some beautiful bee propolis that I was gifted, and we're going to add that also. This is a cruelty-free tusa, I believe, I'm not sure how to say it, silk, and I've cut this up into tiny little pieces, as you can see, so there's no strands left. And this may look like a huge amount of silk, but this does work. So now I'm going to show you how I do this and how I incorporate these. I take my distilled water, and the first thing I'm going to do is add the silk, and then I'll be adding the bee propolis, and again, it's not ground real fine. And the bee propolis, I've added it just like chunks, and it's worked fine, so it will dissolve. And this is our hajari frankincense and the myrrh. Now that looks like a lot of junk. Some people are afraid to put things in their lye water, but I do it all the time, and it doesn't seem to upset the lye at all. I do like to mix this very, very well. We get it all in there. We want to saturate that silk. And you can see it's already getting milky, the water. It'll be a little darker because we're using myrrh and bee propolis. If you were just using frankincense, it would just look like almost like an oat milk or something like that. And now I'm going to add the lye. Give me a second, I just have to turn on my fan. And this particular recipe or formula that I'm doing calls for dual lye, so we're going to use 2 different lyes, and I already have them in here. And of course, be careful, use ventilation. I have my gloves, I have my glasses, and I'm just going to start adding this and stirring. And adding and stirring. And here we go. See how it's starting to get soft? You can see the silk is starting to take on a different behavior. And I usually would use a bigger pitcher. I hope I can fit this all in here. But because of the optics, I'm using this one. And we're heating up. And just keep stirring and stirring. This is going to be a hot process, so we don't have to cool off real much our water. I like to get to about 130 degrees. So I'm just going to keep stirring this because I really want it to incorporate, and you can see that bee propolis is just making it this creamy orange color, and it's getting quite hot. So you want to keep on stirring. You want to make sure you dissolve all that lye. And as you can see, as I'm doing this, everything is melting. The bee propolis will have all kinds of goodies in it. And don't be bothered with that. We are going to strain this out, and it may become gelatinous, but I'm really not concerned with that. At this point, we're just going to keep stirring and stirring. I like to stir and keep stirring until my steam dissipates. And of course, make sure you have ventilation. I do have a fan going, and I'm behind the lye, so all the fumes are blowing away from me. Here's a big chunk of bee propolis. See what I mean? It just sort of, it gets soft and it just sort of turns to goo. And all that resin, the hajari, the myrrh, it's all melted into your lye water. The silk and the lye water is still doing its job, so we're going to let this cool off for a little bit, and I'm going to warm my oil, and then we'll be back. Okay, I'm back. So all the oils are melted and warmed to 130 degrees. Now our lye water is still a little bit hot. It's about, I'd say 140, 141. But we need to strain it anyway, and we're going to strain it into this pan. I always use a non-metal strainer, and I don't know if you can see, but this has gone through the wars and it's been used and abused, so it does take a little bit to strain this out, and I'm going to show you how I do it right now. I'm a lefty, so bear with me. I just start out by pouring my water through, and it's a gorgeous color. Now I don't know if you remember how much bulk we did have in this lye water. We had quite a bit of resin and quite a bit of silk. So we are getting some gunk. And you do want to strain that out. You don't need that in your soap. So we're just going to keep straining this. And you take your time, because remember, we're cooling it down. And as the process goes through, we're going to also achieve some cool down here. So we're achieving two things in one process. And you do want to get as much of that lye water as possible into your formula. And here's what's left. This is usually all the stuff from the bees. And you really don't want to lose any of it, so I sort of just mush it around, try and squeeze it out, get as much of that paste through that sieve as possible. And it gets this beautiful golden color from all the resins, from all the tree resins. And you want to clean this as soon as possible, because of course that's going to start to solidify once it gets cool. So now we have our lye water, and I just want to show you this beautiful color. Nice and dark. You can see that there's a lot of resin in there, and we're going to incorporate it into our oil. Now what I like to do is I usually just pour this first into the water, or into the oil, get it all out, and then I'll start to use the stick blender. we do want to get all this water out of here, so I'm just going to use my hand, strain this all out. This is all full of good resin. So there we go. Now for the stick blender, and we're just going to give it a few spurts, see how it goes. A lot of times these hot process soaps take a while, but when you add some coconut, babasu, shea, there is some oils in there that will help firm it up. And as you can see, it's already emulsifying nicely. Now, this is a hot process soap, so I am going to, as soon as it's emulsified, stick it back on the heat. And I'm going to do spurts of hot and cold. Now, we're down to 124 on this. And I like to get it emulsified at about 130. I usually started, so this is a little cool. My basement's very cold. So I am going to turn off the camera for a second and get this on the stove. So here I am over on the stove, and I'm just going to turn on my stove, and I'm going to put it on a little bit of heat. Now some people are afraid to do this, and you can definitely do a water bath if you want. This is just the way I do it and the way I'm used to it. So, you know, feel free to adapt. But what you want to do is get this on a little bit of heat, and always stir while you're doing the heat. But remember, when you do the stir stick, the more stir stick you do, the more bubbles you're going to have. So I do spurts. Plus, if you're using, depending on the oil, you can burn out your stick. Like if you're doing a high olive, it could take forever. So this is what we're going to do. We're just going to do little spurts, and then, you know, let it rest. I'm sorry, I'm a lefty, so I'll try to use my right hand here. But it does take a little bit, and as we get that temperature up, you're going to see it thicken into a pudding. Let me get my thermometer here. So we're at 127, so we got a ways to go yet. I'd like to get it up to about 170 before I put it in the oven. So you don't want to shock it out. You want to do that slowly. Like I said, gently heat it, gently. So we're just going to hit it and then rest, and then hit it and then rest. And as you can see, it's already emulsified, but it's very thin. Lovely caramel color already though. And we are going to add to this in the next stage. Once it's hit gel, we will be adding some additives, and one of them is going to be raw honey from a friend of mine's hives, and some coconut milk, and some specialty oil and butter. So, but first we need to cook this to a nice gel stage. Let's see what temperature we have it at now. We're up to 132. So I'm going to turn this off until we start getting it thicker. Okay, here's our soap batter after about 40 minutes, maybe a little longer. It's in that wonderful applesauce stage. And can you see why they call it applesauce? And it's starting to get nice and thick there, as you can see. Thickening up good. A lot of our bubbles are gone, yay. I'm just going to hit it a few more times with the stick blender. I just want to make sure that it stays incorporated. And we're going to let this just keep doing its thing for a few more minutes. And it should start to gel pretty soon. Once we get to gel, we're going to cook it. with some additives. Now here we are leaving applesauce stage. See how thick it is now? It's starting to get this kind of glisten to it. It's getting too thick to stir with a stir blender, the stick blender, so I'm going to remove that. And we're going to start using a spatula instead. See, it just falls right off. It's not ropey or sticky at all. And definitely going into the creamier stage. A few more minutes and we'll hit the cream stage. Okay, so we're probably a good hour, maybe more in to making this soap paste, and we've achieved gel. And I just want you to see the difference. Oh, it's kind of translucent. Like a jelly. Has a beautiful sheen to it. So now it's time for our additives. And today, because we're featuring the bee propolis in this soap, I'm going to add some raw honey to this. And a friend of mine has a few hives, and she shares with me. I share stuff with her, so this is from her hives. So we're just going to add that right in. Sorry, I'm a lefty. There's that. And then in here I have my specialty oils, butters, and milk. This is a coconut milk. I've melted some cappuccino. I'm terrible with that. Some butter in there. And then I also have an ounce of argan seed oil and coconut milk. So we're going to add that into there. And it's in a base of distilled water. And then we're just going to stir that in well. And we're going to incorporate this all into the soap. And then we're going to take this soap and we're going to put it into the oven. You can see there's still some live lye in here because the honey's activating it. It's getting hot. But we're going to add this, or put this into the oven. I have the oven at 170. I'm going to turn it off. You could also breadproof if you wanted to, but that's really not necessary. I just insulate and leave this overnight, and then in the morning I will have a really lovely gel Savon, and you can use this on your face. It's real gentle. I do like to give it a rot. I have some that have been rotting years actually, and if you look at the numbers, it really shouldn't stay good that long. But I do add some rosemary oleo resin extract to my oils and to my soap. And as you can see, this is starting to firm up here with the sugars and the other additives. And I am just going to add a little bit of rosemary oil resin. Yeah, I keep it in the refrigerator. If you keep it in the refrigerator, it'll last you indefinitely. And I like to put about 3 to 6 drops in. 2, 3, 4, 5. And of course, this has really minute droppers, so you know, if you don't have a tiny little dropper like that, be careful. You don't want to use more than you have to. But the rosemary oleo resin extract seems to keep my oils from going rancid. This soap does have a dual lye, so like cream soap, it does seem to go through a rot stage where it's, should we say, got a yeasty almost type odor, and that passes, almost like when you make goat's milk soap and you get that ammonia smell sometime, but it's a little different. Not really an ammonia type scent. It's hard to describe. But that goes away, and then the beautiful scent of your herbs or your oils, they do come through in this a little bit, but I like to scent it, and I'm going to scent this one tomorrow morning once it's done cooking and all the lye is out of it. We're going to scent this with some therapeutic myrrh oil and maybe a little white thyme, I'm thinking. As you can see, it's already turning into a nice gel. Tomorrow morning, though, when we open this up, it's going to be much more translucent than it is right now. That milk has to cook in, and those butters need to saponify a little bit, and there's still enough active lye in here that we will get that. As you can see, it's already getting quite clear. And then I just put it in jars, and I let it do its thing right in the jars, and I'll come back even a year later and use this soap, although I do, in a pinch I'll use it right away, you know, I can't be without it. This is all I use on my face, is this type of soap. So now I'm just going to cover this with some plastic wrap very tightly, and I'm going to place it in a warmed oven. Now, I'm going to insulate that also, because I don't want it to get a chill. I want it to keep on, I want that heat to help cook out all the rest of the lye in here overnight. So we want to keep the temperature from cooling down. And right now we have a temperature of 140. So we don't want it to get much cooler than that. So I like to cover it real tight with some plastic wrap. And I'll use a couple sheets of this. The trick is you don't want to get any air in here if possible. You want as little air to get in here as possible. You really want it to go through that full gel and for everything to just gel out. So in the morning you have a really nice glistening soap, and I can see I'm not going to have to worry about that because with that honey and the bee propolis and the balm of Gilead, it is just gelling out already after 12 hours insulated in the oven. Of course I have the oven on off, but I insulate it and I put it in there when I had heated it to about 170 Fahrenheit. It will be good to go in the morning. And first you turn off your oven, and then you get some towels and you just wrap it and you put it away for the night, and in the morning we'll come back and we'll see what we have. Hello again. So it's Penny again from Back to Eden, and I just pulled the pot out of the oven. It's been in there for a good maybe 10 hours. It's very cold today down here. We're registering 63 degrees Fahrenheit. So this has been insulated in the oven doing its thing with the oven off, and I can already feel that it's warmer. I'm hoping that it went through full gel because it's so cold down here, but we'll see what temperature is. Oh yeah, we've got gel. So let's check our temp and see where this is at, being insulated all night. We're about 78 degrees, so it's quite a bit warmer, almost 20 degrees warmer than it would have been if we left it out And as you can see, we've achieved gel. Now, I like to scent this before it gets too cool. So I'm going to go ahead and scent this right away, but I just want you to see how lovely this is. It's not ropey and stringy and hard to spread. It's going to be like jelly and very easy to use on the skin. Right now I'm going to add our essential oils. And today I decided to use just a little bit of myrrh. This is a called therapeutic myrrh oil, and it's a very thick, viscous myrrh, and it has a lovely aroma. And then just a little bit of thyme oil, and we're really using just a fraction of a percent here. My goal is not to overload this with scents, but just to add a little value to the soap. But when it's still warm like this, you know, above maybe 75, 80, I like to do it 80 actually, but it's a little cool down here, as I said today. You want to warm it because then it really accepts the oils a lot better than if it's cool, too cool. And you want to get every last bit of that myrrh oil. It's not inexpensive to purchase, so. And now we're just going to stir it in. And as you stir it, you're going to see, usually when you add essential oils to this paste, it will develop kind of a cloudiness. That will go away, and I'm not concerned about that at all. So, because this has been sitting on this table for a few minutes, I can already tell that the paste on the bottom has gotten a little hard. So we really want to stir that up and get that incorporated in here quite rapidly, because we want the oils to distribute properly. So you want to make sure you get everything in there. And you can see this is doing it real bad with this essential oil, but some essential oils will cloud your soap very well. Now see, we're getting peaking here. And this soap will relax a little bit also as it goes through what they call a rot or a sequester. So even if it looks a little stiff now, actually it's beautiful, but don't worry about that. It does loosen up a bit. Now once I get this all incorporated in here, I will put this in glass jars. And let it sequester right in the glass jar. I don't like to use plastic with this because I have all these beautiful oils. And I'm afraid that the plastic is either going to leach into these oils or that the oils are going to leach into the plastic. So my motto is glass. And this is a little thick, so I'm going to use a spoon. Usually I do this a little bit warmer, and we don't have that luxury today. Even though it's March, in Wisconsin it's 18 degrees, so there you have it. But you could definitely put this in the oven for a few minutes and warm it back up. But because we're going to sequester it anyway, I am not too concerned about everything not blending. It's going to go through some stages. When you do a rot, the soap kind of breaks down a little bit, I guess you could say, and it gets even more glycerin-like. You can imagine that. That's the reason I like to use a dual eye, because that little bit of NOH really helps give structure to the soap. And keeps it from totally separating out into a glycerin. Now I have made some that have just turned total glycerin on me, and they're still amazing soaps. So, you know, it's not like there's a strict rule with this stuff. It smells wonderful. You can really, the thyme and the myrrh just blend beautifully together with this propolis and the poplar bud. And yes, I can still smell the poplar bud. Now don't forget we have silk in here also. Now when I do this, I don't like to leave any airspace. I like to make sure it's really packed in there good for the rot. Kind of like up to the beginning of the neck at least. And I'm not going to do anything weird on you, so you don't have to worry about overfilling or it popping open. And then make sure you clean your jar good, the rim. And we'll just set that aside, and in a few weeks to a year, it'll be ready to use. I pack it in these jars. They're pretty inexpensive. I get them from Uline, but I pack them in these 4-ounce jars for sale, and they last quite a while. Now, if you are going to use a glass container, I do not recommend taking the glass container into the shower. The reason being is that glass container will maybe break, and we don't want that. So I get these flexible jars. I think Amazon carries them. These are for chocolates, but they hold Beldi very well, or gel Savon. And they also come with little pinch bowls, they're called. And these are great for taking in the shower. And what you can do with these and with the soap, let me move this out of the way, is you can do face masks, or you can do scrubs. It's a very versatile soap. So to do a face mask, you would simply take a little of your soap and add it to whatever you're using. This right here that I have is a bamboo charcoal. And you would want to blend this well. And a lot of times I'll add a little bit of oil first and then blend it in, which I probably should have done with the charcoal because we all know how messy charcoal can be. But you keep blending it in until you get a nice paste consistency. This is about a teaspoon of charcoal, and I can see I'm going to need quite a bit of soap. And charcoal does take a second too to absorb, so don't be too rash with it. You don't want to, instantly assume that it's not soaking in. Give it a minute. But you're getting a nice paste consistency with that. And then you can use this as a clarifying mask. I don't keep it on my face more than a minute. That's all that's necessary, a minute or two. Unlike traditional masks, because we do have a high pH and it is soap, always be careful because you do not want to get this in your eyes. Just like traditional soap, it will burn your eyes. So there's a nice clarifying mask. And again, if I'm taking it in the shower, I would just add this to one of the bowls. Next is something I really like to use this for, and I have a problem up here in the north with dry lips. We all get them here. I mean, it's like you can't avoid it even if you drink a lot of water, just because the air, as you can hear, my furnace is kicking in. So what I like to do once in a while is to make a lip scrub. And what I've done is I've taken some of my my beet sugar, organic beet sugar, and I've just pulverized it and crushed it down, ground it. And I'm just going to add it right to my gel Savon. And I'm just going to blend that in like I did with the bamboo charcoal until you get a nice fine paste. And the nice thing about this is it isn't ropey. It's like jelly. It's like the jelly you spread on your toast in the morning. So it really adapts well to whatever product you're going to put into it. So there we have a really quick, easy lip scrub, sugar scrub for your lips. And I only mix up what I can use that day. I don't store it, and I don't sell the scrubs. I only sell the soap. People can make their own. Another example would be instead of a clarifying mask, mask with rose petals in it, and that would be refining. So there's many, many ways you can use this soap and utilize it. It's very versatile. I call it Gel Savon. I hope you enjoyed the video as much as I enjoyed making it, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.